Hey, hey, Poodle fam. Oh, we got a good one for you today. My name is Joe Way. I am your host. Good Poodle cast today. This is a different one. This is coming to you as if it's live, but I'm going to give you behind the scenes, actually pre-recording this 1 week early. It actually works out well because one of our guests has other priorities in life, like, football and actually having a real life, So, and I happen to have a work event, so we're recording this and playing this. You don't know the difference. Feels live to you, but it was a little pre-record. We've got a good one. A little bit of a quick story before I bring our two guests in. Two guests, that's right. Um, Poodle has been doing a lot of partnership building lately. You've seen a lot of the episodes where I've had a lot of our guests come in who have been those who were our token is related to or has a partnership in some form or another. And this is one of those. Now, we keep saying, that we want to take the ways to purchase tokens and get the make it easier, right? Essentially, and so EverRise is here and has EverSwap is the easiest way to basically be able to purchase Poodle. And in fact, I got called out for making a pancake swap purchase, and then Tom's like, "Oh, why don't you try EverSwap?" And then I tried it, and now I'm addicted to it. I can't buy any of my tokens any other way. So it's cool stuff. We're going to talk more about it. But that being said, you don't want to hear from me. Let's introduce our guests. We switch over. Coming to us, we got one from the UK and one from the Eastern U.S. So first off, Tom, people who are on the Telegram, the Poodle Telegram, know you. So Tom, let me start. First, welcome. Introduce yourself. Tell everyone kind of what you do and your role with EverRise.
Hey guys, yeah, I'm sure everyone's familiar with my name at least. Maybe not so much my voice, but I'm Tom. I work on the business development team and sales team for EverRise. Main role basically is onboarding projects and talking with the communities and promoting our DApps such as EverSwap, as you mentioned.
Yep. Yeah. And let me tell you, it's fantastic stuff. So, really quickly, so how long have you been working with EverRise and all that with part of that project?
So I started with EverRise in April. So we're coming up to 3 months now, starting on the business development team. Got into crypto early last year, sort of February sort of time last year. My first investment being Dogecoin. And then I kind of branched out and learned about decentralized finance and ended up stumbling into EverRise and loved it there. And yeah, everything is kind of decentralized for me now rather than centralized.
Yep, I think that's kind of the story a lot of us have, right? Is kind of going from that, as we branch out and learn more, and it's like, oh, this is a very nice decentralized world we live in. So that's awesome. We're gonna get more to that. Introducing our next guest, and that is Peter. Peter, welcome to the show. Please tell everyone who you are and what you do.
Hey, what's up, Joe? Thanks for
Okay.
having me on the Poodlecast. My name is Peter. I'm the legal operations manager at EverRise. So that means I'm essentially the only lawyer on staff. I've been an attorney for about 10 years. Currently, EverRise doesn't have any need for any litigation or anything. So the sort of thing I do is I take a look at every document, every contract we sign, make sure it's up to speed. I also do a lot of business development. So in conversations with possible clients of our services, and just here to make sure that things operate smoothly in a complex world.
Yeah, yeah, that's pretty awesome. I love that idea because we are in this weird time too in crypto, right? Like, and when people don't know, like, who do you know who to trust, right? And how do you know which projects and people are legit? And so to have that legal side is pretty awesome. And how long have you been with the project? Same thing.
So on an official basis, I've been with the project since February, but EverRise launched in June of last year, 2021, and I've
Hmm.
been a member of the community ever since then. Just talking on the Discord, on the Telegram, doing analysis and talking about various avenues for development and growth. So sometimes the line is kind of blurry, right, between team member and community member.
Hmm.
EverRise does promote from within. So I've been around from the beginning, but I've been only officially on board for about 6 months now.
No, that's awesome, and I love that because it's the same thing here with with me and Poodle. I mean, it's weird being an admin, yet I started just like like most people. I bought some tokens and enjoyed the community I found on the Telegram. Right, next thing you know, you're getting involved, and next thing you know, you have an official role, and like, where did that come from, right? And that's kind of the cool thing about it. So talk about, and I'll kind of throw this to you. Talk a little bit. Give me the overview for those who aren't familiar with EverRise of your total platform, because or I could really call it an ecosystem because you have a lot of different things that you guys do. So I'll just throw that out to either one of you. You want to give us that elevator pitch of everything about your token and your project?
Sure, I'll start, and Tom can maybe fill in some blanks. I think the overriding vision of EverRise is security and adoption, right? We all believe that decentralized control and self-custody of our own assets are important features of this economic revolution. But in order for widespread adoption to bring us where we think we're going to be, people need to feel that their wallets are safe and that they don't have to spend countless hours engaging in steps to achieve total wallet security. So many of the decentralized applications that EverRise has built are focused either on security or adoption. Security-wise, we've got a few dApps. One is called EverOwn. That's a smart contract locker, which gives communities a sort of informal DAO power over their own smart contract. This is so that people can have trust that their developers are serious and also trustworthy, while also giving projects the flexibility to edit their contracts. We believe that renouncing a contract is not a good practice because the contract will always need to be changed. But there has to be some sort of middle ground where the community can also point to the contract being locked and inaccessible for further development unless the community approves.
Yep.
So EverOwn inspires a DAO-like governance model where all of the holders have control over the contract and it can only be edited upon a successful vote, which the developer can call for a stated purpose. We've also developed EverRevoke, which is a free-to-use service for anybody in DeFi, where you can go to our website at everrise.com/revoke. And people don't really realize when they engage with a token or an NFT, what happens is you provide an approval after you provide your signature for that token. And as long as that approval is existing in the world, it provides opportunities for hacks to exploit that token and therefore your own wallet holdings. So it's very important to keep up to date on your own revoking history. And so you can go to our website right now, connect your wallet, and you'll see all this list of various token approvals that you still have outstanding in your wallet, and then just revoke them straight away. So those are two examples of the sort of security element of our ecosystem. And then things like EverSwap are more about the accessibility. It's a simple, straightforward process on our website to go to everrise.com/swap and then trade many tokens, including Poodle, EverRise. You can trade them for lots of other assets on the chains that they sit. You can trade them for stable coins. You can trade them for things like Doge and ApeCoin. Just in my opinion, a more user-friendly way to have access to various DeFi assets, like our own tokens. And there's also a cool feature of EverSwap, which is that it eliminates the swap and liquefy function, which is another kind of barrier to accessibility for Web3. Any project that currently assesses tokenomic taxes has a critical flaw, in my view, which is that these tokenomic taxes can only be charged in the project's token. So as you are engaging in tokenomics, you're kind of peeling off Poodle token or the Rise token. And then in order for the contract to enjoy the benefits of that tax, it has to liquefy the project token. It has to sell it into the liquidity pool. And so the swap and liquefy function has this constant sell pressure on the chart, which is really kind of damaging to the sort of morale of the project sometimes. So EverSwap eliminates that completely by creating a whitelisted front end such that the tokenomic tax is charged only in native coin. So it may not sound like much, but as long as we keep coming up with solutions to make sure that DeFi is doing things the right way in ways that aren't confusing or kind of murky, then in my view, we'll have achieved some great success. Tom, what do you say? What have I missed there?
Absolutely. I mean, I think you've summed it up very well. The words that I think of when I think of EverRise are security, accessibility, and adoption. And I suppose that's what we're looking to do, is pave the way to mass adoption by making DeFi more accessible for people. The way things are at the moment, not everyone can get into DeFi. There's lots of barriers, lots of blockers in the way. Things aren't easy, and EverRise kind of sets out to solve that by looking for problems and finding solutions to them, such as a lot of the things you've mentioned there, with Everown being our flagship product, stopping the need to renounce contracts and allowing for future growth. And EverSwap as well, being a way of stopping swap and liquefy, which is something that will benefit a lot of projects.
Yeah, I love that. So, because a couple of things, and I want to talk a little bit about them here. I want to first the revoke. Okay, EverRevoke. I found out about it. Didn't even know it existed. So I think someone, it might have been Sasha, I think either wrote it on our or wrote it on our Telegram, going, "Hey, check this out," and it might have even been when we were on your AMA that I'd heard it, and I couldn't believe how many places I've given access to my wallet to. Like, I was shocked, and you don't realize, like, when you're buying something or you have a token that you might have been in, like things that were a year old, and that token doesn't even exist anymore, and yet someone has access to my wallet, right? And it's scary. And I think that that's one of those things that a lot of new investors don't realize. I didn't realize it. Is when you're giving this access, and you might have, you don't know that the person is a bad actor, or if they're a legit project, or what you're actually giving access to. I mean, it might just be for, buying and selling the token or whatever, but you also don't know, and what might be built into the back end of that, or being, so I thought that was huge. And then also, I had no idea about the liquefy in order to buy the tokens. Like, that was something that I'd never thought about, and how you have that sell pressure on a contract. And we as a project, you don't want that. You want a nice, easy transaction. You don't realize how important it is to be able to have that purchase, and not, a buy should be a positive thing on your charts, right? Not something that causes people to want to sell, and puts it in that way. So speak a little bit to these aspects, especially speaking to new investors, and how they can take care and ensure that there's security on their wallet. What are some of those things that people don't realize until it's too late?
Well, go ahead, Tom, please.
I was just going to say, absolutely, and I was similar to you. I was a bit of a degen when I first got into DeFi, buying everything, and the amount of tokens or NFTs as well that get unlimited approval to your wallet is ridiculous. When you look at it, it's concerning. So yeah, I was just going to add on there that nothing needs unlimited and indefinite approval to your wallet, even if you trust it. I revoked permissions to EverMigrate, which is one of our DApps, as soon as EverRevoke came out. Nothing needs it. There's no need for it to have it. So it's just protecting yourself, even where, things are unlikely to go wrong. It's just having that extra layer of security.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
And in terms of what I would say to people that are just getting started in the space, the thing about DeFi is it holds the very best and the very worst of human behavior right together. I think so many of us are in this space so that we can see a really positive change, not only for ourselves, but for the global economic system. Mm-hmm. And so if you hang around here long enough, you'll meet real friends. You'll meet people that are focused on making the world a better place. You'll find people that want to help the regular folks on the planet just get a little chance to get ahead and get the same advantages that banks enjoy as centralized institutions that have control over a great degree of capital. So that's point one in DeFi. But point 1A is that the space is riddled with scammers and people that want to steal money too. And that's one of the greatest barriers to adoption. So as you're getting started in DeFi, please hope for the best, but also very much expect the worst when it comes to other people. And therefore, do anything and everything within your power to keep your own personal wallet safe. So step one is when you get your seed phrase, write it down on a piece of paper and put it somewhere totally secure that only you know about. And do not store your seed phrase digitally. Do not email it to yourself. Do not take a screenshot of it, because every time you do something like that, it's another possible vector for attack. And unfortunately, currently, the space is ripe for attack. So we need to do everything we can to make sure that our own wallets are safe. And that's why we're proud to bring forward EverRevoke. Again, like I didn't even know quite what it was to approve a token. There's a dual process whereby you provide a signature, which is your own kind of wallet key. And then upon that signature, you provide an approval. So EverRevoke is, in my view, step one in terms of taking control of your own digital wallet security. Every time you give a token an approval, there sits another vector for potential attack. And it'll stay there as long as these tokens actually exist in the world and are able to be hacked. So as we're trying to change the world and make it a better place in terms of the way finances and resources and supplies go around the globe, it's also up to us to hold each other accountable and make sure not only that our own wallets are safe, but also that over time, the space just doesn't have as many vulnerabilities as it currently does, and that systems are set up in place to make sure that the kind of decentralized efforts of ourselves to create a culture of security and inaccessibility to bad actors, the more we'll see that global adoption that we're all hoping for.
Yeah, yeah, and I love that, and I think you're absolutely right, especially because so many people come in, and as you hear, the hype of crypto, and a lot of investors, including me. I mean, I remember, I've told the story a few times how I just wanted to see how many like rug pulls and bad actors, and I just bought a bunch of different things, and I think out of like 30 tokens that I threw, $50 or $100 into, and I want to say only like four of them didn't get rugged. Like it was amazing how much scamming was out there until I actually tested it, and you just feel bad because we all want this space to be successful. We know this is the future, but when you have these bad actors who pretend to be good, they put up a legit website, a fake Telegram, right? They do all the things that you think you're supposed to look for. And, yes, we have to start, trying to figure out where are the communities that you can trust and all of that. But if you are giving that access to your wallet, you're giving that, that person, like I said, 26 of the 30 or whatever, we're fake projects, right? And yet you're giving access to all that. And I think that that's really huge. And hopefully, as people come in, they can learn how to treat their wallet just like they would actually treat their real wallet, their real bank account. You wouldn't just leave, you wouldn't take your PIN and put it, in your email address for people to know, right? It's the same basic principles. We just have to know how to do it different. And I think that's one of the things that I've always said that's great about DeFi land. At the same time, it's fully transparent, and that the blockchain is a ledger to see where money went. It's also at the same time completely anonymous. You don't know who the owner of that person is unless they reveal themselves, right? And that kind of is that two-edged sword there. So I love that, and I love that point. Next, I do want to go to, again, where was that? What was it? A little bit more on the security, because I think it's important, but the contract. I did a show a while ago about whether or not, you should kind of, what you should do with your contract. Should you have a contract that is able to continue to be changed? Can you talk to that? Why is it important that you do have a contract if you're a project that allows change and allows community members to vote to allow the change, which we do. Poodle, we do. We've changed our tokenomics through vote. So talk a little bit about that and the importance of that as well.
Sure. So I think the holders have a right to have input on the future of the token that underlies the project. Let's back up a little bit and just talk about what a smart contract is in the first place. The smart contract is the set of coding parameters that governs what happens with a particular token that we all hold and love, whether it's Poodle and EverRise. there's a lot of stuff that goes on separately from that contract. There's a lot of development, and at least at EverRise, the development of certain software as a service and business to business solutions that can happen without any input from the digital payment token that is EverRise, right?
Mm-hmm.
So in the first blush, there's no real need for all that much editing to the contract. It should stay kind of concrete unless there's a pressing need for a change. So we start from this idea that there's no need for the contract to be constantly unlocked and available for change. But there's also you can go too far. You can do what's called renouncing the contract, whereby the developers will say, okay, the contract is perfect. We don't want to ever change it. It will never be accessible to us. We're essentially burning the ability to edit this contract, and therefore we're stuck with what we've got forever. And we're doing this, dear community, in order to gain your trust. Well, we didn't think that was a perfect solution, because imagine if, say, the Windows operating system locked itself in 1993 and said we'd never need to change it. Obviously, there needs to be innovations from time to time. So Suresh, our CEO, said, well, there has to be a middle ground. And so let's do it whereby the developer can lock the contract in a smart contract locker known as EverOwn. But then, if and when there needs to be a change, the developer can put forth the change and the reason for it, and then submit it to a community vote, so that it's a simple up and down yes or no process. The EverOwn takes a snapshot of all token holders when the vote is called, and then everybody can go in and, according to the weighted average of their tokens, vote yes or no. And once the vote passes, and if the developer has trust, the vote always passes for EverRise. We've had, I think, 4 successful votes now. They all pass with like 98%. Then the developer regains access to the project, to the contract. EverOwn releases it to their wallet, and then they can make the needed changes, and then, when finished, relock the contract. And so this also has an additional security feature, by the way, which is that as long as the contract is unlocked, all the liquidity that is contained within it is still very much subject to the developer's own personal wallet security. Mm-hmm. So developers like this because they can lock the contract and know that everything within it is safe unless and until they call a successful vote. So to us, EverOwn just achieves that critical middle ground between having the contract locked behind a certain kind of walled garden, but also when change needs to come, change can come, but only by authorization from the people who hold the token. So that's EverOwn in a nutshell.
Yeah, I love that. I love that because I think it's important. And Tom, I see you and I'll let you speak to it, but I think it is important because a lot of people have said early on, if you remember a year or so ago when there was the big hype of what contract, saying that they renounced ownership was a big selling point, right? Like for trust. But then you sit there and go, and I remember even thinking, okay, well, everyone's trying to do this. They're promoting this, so it must be a good thing. But I'm sitting there going, well, wait a minute. Look at how the world has changed. Look at how crypto has changed even the last year. I mean, we weren't talking about NFT stuff and with Pool, we're doing a lot of augmented reality and we're doing a lot of things in our 3D NFT. Like we can't do all these innovations if we would have said this is all our project is a year ago, right? So I think that's important. So Tom, do you want to speak more to that?
Yeah, I mean, you covered off a lot of what I was going to say there. I was just thinking, contract announcement was seen as, the most transparent thing you could do. You're effectively handing away control. But why would you want to invest in something that can't evolve? We're in an ever-evolving, ever-changing space, and there's no one that's going to convince me that in 2022 they've mastered what they want to do, and that's exactly how they want it for the future. You're not going to be competitive in 5 years' time when things change. So, in my opinion, renouncing a contract is one of the worst things you can do because it stops you from any kind of future growth, any kind of future changes, and that's where EverOwn comes in and becomes the middle ground.
Yep. Yeah, and I absolutely love that. I think it's a very smart way for, again, it's that trust for communities. And this is saying for us, we're thankful to have an incredible community. I'm thankful that we have people that we can trust, and our investors can be thankful that those of us who have access to the contract, those of us who are kind of leading the train here, have gone through the kind of public KYC process. We are out there, and yet not every token is that way. So anything you can do for your investors to just say, hey, here we are. This is us. You're going to be safe, or as safe as we can make it. And I think that we have a responsibility as people in charge of a token to do that for our investors. So I love that. Let's transition now to my favorite topic, and of course that's Poodle, right? You can purchase through EverSwap. I will say there's a pretty limited number of tokens that swap through. So I feel like you haven't just taken every any token on Earth and said, here you can purchase it. It's a limited number. Obviously, you're growing that, but talk to me about why Poodle. Why did we make that list?
I was the one who reached out to Poodle because I loved what it was doing at the time with its metaverse ambitions and the way it talked about the metaverse. I'd been on a couple of spaces, listened to Sasha mainly, and been an active part of the Poodle community. So, and the community is very transparent and very open. Obviously, there was difficulties in the past which were recovered from, and you guys are very open about that. And yeah, I kind of loved the community and the plans that Poodle had for the future.
Great. No, I love that. Go ahead, Peter.
Yeah, I remember, Tom, obviously great answers. I remember people might recall the Let Us In movement from November of last year. This was about EverRise saying that there are a lot of strange barriers to entry for a centralized exchange. I hope I don't get in trouble for saying this. I don't care if any token is on a centralized exchange. I think they're kind of a waste of time, and I think they take a lot of money out of the ecosystem. But for me, the Let Us In movement was about not like being on any particular one exchange, so much as calling attention to the practices of centralized exchanges, which is to make it very easy for meme of the moment tokens to get listed, but making it a lot harder and more expensive, candidly, for tokens that are actually building for an ecosystem, for long-term future growth. So anyway, I remember we were having a Twitter Spaces about this Let Us In movement, and I remember a lot of Poodle folks coming through to share their concerns about centralized institutions and about the challenges faced by early-stage DeFi protocols. And so I remember having several positive conversations with Poodle community members. So based upon that alignment of philosophy, it was also a no-brainer for me.
That's great. Yeah. Well, that's great. I don't know what to say because I agree with you. And I think that's kind of one of the things that I would say our community. It's weird to say we're a token that was as we don't run away from our past, right? It was originally created as a rug by the original dev when we were on. When we were off on Ethereum before we moved over to the Binance Smart Chain. And so we pride ourselves on being able to have gone in there, saved the token, and moved it forward with some very ambitious goals, like Thomas said, with getting into the metaverse, by adapting to the direction that technology is moving in. And that's one thing that I love. And when I started seeing and hearing Sasha on the back end go, hey, I think we're going to be able to have Poodle listed here on EverSwap, and I thought, wow, that's that. I mean, to us, we sit there and go, then hopefully we're doing something right. For that to be to be chosen in there means we got to be doing something right, and that's kind of the important thing as we start to go and we develop. So I'll throw this back out there. Do you remember too, about a year or so ago, there was beyond the Let Us In, there was also the kind of the maxis, right? Like it's like it's our token or no token. There were a lot of people like you almost had to hate everybody else. And I don't mean that. I mean, I don't know how else to say it, but now we're building these alliances. We're building these partnerships together. So talk, and this is more of just a thought from you guys. Is it important that we come together as individual tokens, as a community together in order for long-term success of DeFi, and not just be a buy us and that's it and pretend that nothing else is there. Speak a little to that, because obviously you created an ecosystem. You make, you're making money based on people, other tokens too, on people swapping. So speak to that.
Sure. It's a really complex question in a way, and there's a lot of factors going into it. You hear people say unify DeFi a lot, and that's certainly, that idea has its heart in its right place. Sometimes you will see bad actors saying the same thing so that they can kind of hide behind this idea that because they set up a liquidity pool, they can't do any wrong. So I'm by nature a suspicious guy. I'm an attorney. I don't think DeFi should unify simply for unification's sake, because I don't want to unify with scammers or bad actors.
Yeah.
So there's no need for projects to unite if they can provide something of independent and intrinsic value. Like, if an NFT project creates something that people love and they can generate extrinsic value from doing so, they don't need to unite with EverRise or Poodle or anybody else, because they're doing something that has value to a specific community. On the other hand, as long as we're sniping and shouting back and forth, my token or no other token, then we look a little bit tribal and foolish, because that's not how financial markets work. So in my view, the most important thing is not necessarily any particular sense of unity or disunity, so much as dispassionate analysis about where value comes from on a long-term basis, right? So, EverRise tries to bring value to its own particular token by providing software as a service and solutions that other protocols will need. And therefore, we are honored to be seen as a unifier in that sense. We simply want to build things so that the innovators can innovate. And whether that's helpful in sort of some sort of philosophical moment in unifying protocols across bridges, I'm not sure. I don't know if EverRise is qualified to say. EverRise very much believes in providing solutions for good actors to take advantage of. The extent to which the entire space unifies, we're not sure. There may still be, room for projects that go their own way and innovate on their own and create a culture. In my view, that becomes a very difficult tent to grow. And so for that particular project, they may do better if they build bridges rather than resist them. So it's a pretty vague answer to your question, but I think the space is so vast and so complicated that we're still shaking out what it may even mean to unify in the first place. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. And I totally agree with you. And that's one of the things we've done at Poodle. We kind of had that thought of, we don't have to be everything. We can do what we wanted, what we're good at, right? Like, if, an example is, getting into the metaverse, our 3D NFTs that will be able to be, used in the metaverse. Well, we don't need to go build our own metaverse. There are other projects out there that have a great metaverse, right? So now maybe we can now find a way to, to just be part of that. We can provide the characters, or vice versa, right? We don't need to go build our own exchange when there's a perfectly good one in you guys for us to partner with to make it easy for people to purchase, right? And I think that's where we can find almost, I guess maybe the better word is strategic alliances, right?
Right,
The benefit.
exactly. And just to clarify what I mean, I think my point is that saying unify DeFi is almost too broad, that it almost becomes meaningless in a way. Like, nobody would say unify capitalism. There's so many different branches of it. Like, Coca-Cola and Intel have no business even speaking about each other. Much the same in DeFi. There's so many different projects with so many different alignments that there's no need to say that we all have a piece together. But one thing that I think would help to sort of unify the space is to have some sort of agreed upon protocols and standards, whereby projects show how they're not going to extract value from the system. So as an attorney at EverRise, I'm developing various set of best practices, including an anti-insider trading policy, a confidential information policy, and I'll be releasing these over the coming weeks, as I think, things that any good project, any project of good ethics should find themselves in agreement with.
Yeah.
Those are the sorts of things that I think are important in terms of unification and legitimacy, a sort of self-regulation rather than, oh, we're all in this together, because we're not, on some level, like Coca-Cola and Intel, that they're just two businesses trying to make it work. But then when there are synergies, it's important to take advantage of them. And of course, you walk away with a good relationship and you grow your tent that way as well.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. I love that. And I don't know. I didn't know. I was going to stop there for Tom. Wow. I think this is incredible stuff, because I think it is important that, we have to, and I'm sitting here, my mind is going as an admin of a project thinking, what are those practices? Because you want to do right by your investors, right? You shouldn't run a project if the well-being of your investors isn't first and foremost in your mind, right? Then just be a normal investor in something. But if you're going to have that responsibility, and I consider it a responsibility to them, to protect them, to do all the right steps, I think that this is important. And what you guys provide is essential for everyone to want to protect them and to show that you're a safe project, and that you have the right intentions of it. So I absolutely love that. As we kind of start to wind up, I want to ask. I have to do the selfish questions here to both of you. I'll start with you, Tom. We're on the Poodlecast, so each of you give me your 3 favorite top reasons why people. And I'm going to give you, it's a 2-parter. Top 3 reasons why people should invest in EverRise, but then the top 3 reasons someone should also invest in Poodle. Tom, you're up first.
Well, you've put me on the spot there. For EverRise, really, because it's building things that are going to help you in the future. It's building an ecosystem that is going to make DeFi accessible, and I truly believe that it is the future of DeFi, and will create a way into DeFi for a lot more people, and give it that accessibility. Obviously, it's a business-to-business security protocol, and I believe that's going to generate value in the future. For Poodle, I'm just excited about what Poodle has and its plans for the future. I'm excited about its metaverse ambitions, which we covered on our AMA. And yeah, I'd say it's definitely worth checking out Poodle.
Yeah, awesome. Peter, same question to you.
Sure, and I'll first give the very lawyerly answer, which tries to avoid any regulatory scrutiny. The best reason to buy EverRise or to buy Poodle is that you like holding EverRise and you like holding Poodle. Period. There should be no kind of hope of financial gain necessarily, so much as an enjoyment of an association. And for me with EverRise, it's the community, number one. So I go into the Telegram, I go into the Discord, I have 50 friends I can talk to, not only about DeFi and math and charts and all the rest of it, but also about life if I'm so inclined. So the number one reason for any particular token purchase should be enjoying yourself. And for the time being a part of something that you believe can improve the world. And then the number 2 reason for either project would be, is there a path towards longevity? Is there a reason that this association you enjoy will continue to be around for 5 years, 10 years, 20 years? Because if you're not looking at that kind of time horizon, you're looking at a short-term time horizon. And in such short-term time horizons, any value exchange starts to resemble a casino. There's just not enough time to prove out a use case, not enough time to demonstrate sustainability. And therefore, the number 2 reason to buy any particular token is because you believe it will be around for a while and you can be a part of that growth. And then the number 3 reason for EverRise is that specifically within the community, I would say that dispassionate analysis is a community norm. We think very deeply about our token, but we don't sit around and chant about how rich we're all going to be. I think that kind of behavior is very destructive in the space. And at EverRise, we're very proud of our reputation, which is to say, like, we think about the long term. We think about how to generate external value, and how to make sure that our token succeeds over the coming decades. And to round out things, the number 3 reason to be involved in Poodle is because of Joe.
I like that one. That's the best one there. Yeah, you're completely right. No. Actually, it's funny because everything you were saying, I think there's a lot of similarities in our projects there, and I think that's why there's been a good relationship and this kind of partnership we have together, and this association, because those are exactly the same reasons that I continued to get further involved in our project, and the things that I see as I get to know yours more. And is that, as people who've listened for a while know, a year and a half ago, I lost pretty much everything to a house fire. I'm in a new house right now. And it was the poodle community that actually helped me through that, gave me a kind of an escape, that I had people that I could just, not talk to, but, in a counseling way, but as a like, wow, these people actually care and they're going through it, and you go, that's more than just an investment. Right. And as you mentioned, like, because you feel good and proud of holding the token, there was that association of being part of that community, and then it makes you want to, the secondary side of it is, yes, it's an investment, and yes, you're buying it. Um, and that to me was really kind of the cool, the aspect there that brought me in. And again, and I totally agree. What I love about both of our projects is none of us are saying that, it's mooning tomorrow or whatever the words are, those crazy things. I remember doing a show, an episode early on, and saying, our thought, everybody is sitting here as new tokens are being launched every day, of what's the next this and the next that. And every token was proud to be brand new. And I'm sitting here thinking, that's the worst type of thinking there is. How about when people can say our project is a year old? Because then that shows you actually did something, right? You actually put the effort in. It wasn't just the pump up and then there was nothing else behind it. Because to be a year or 2 years or 3 years old means that you've actually had to forward focus. You had to say, we're going to continue to adapt, we're going to continue to grow, and we're going to continue to work. That's an investment I would want to be part of. And that's where I think there's a lot of similarities in our various projects. So that said, I'm very, very happy to have had you guys on. Looking forward to hopefully having you return to the show. Each of you, if you want, I mean, obviously, how can someone find you? I know that, besides asking Dr. Google, how can people connect with you guys, or even EverRise, and find it? And I'll let you just kind of go there and close how they can find you guys.
Come to our Telegram. Our Telegram is very much home base. I think we share that with a lot of crypto projects. But Tom is there. I'm there. You just have to ask for us by name. You can find our Twitters, and then if you're feeling brave, you can head over to the Discord where the curmudgeons tends to hang out. But I think we definitely exist in a world where Telegram is it. So please pop over and say hello in the EverRise Telegram, follow our Twitter, and use Everswap to make your Poodle transactions as well. That's everrise.com/swap. EverRise has 2 R's. And that way, Poodle went through the trouble to onboard and believes it's a good way to purchase your tokens. It ends the swap and liquefy function. So come and take our ecosystem for a test drive and use Everswap to engage with your Poodle transactions.
Totally agree. Tom, last word to you.
Absolutely. Same thing. Come join our Telegram. Look on the website, www.everrise.com. You can look in Discord as well. As Peter said, it's a little bit more, a little bit slower in there, and a lot more about kind of analysis in the Discord, if you prefer that sort of setting. And use Everswap to buy your Poodle. Poodle haven't just onboarded to Everswap because it's another place to onboard and it's a DEX and somewhere you can buy it. They've onboarded to Everswap because it benefits them, and it stops that swap and liquefy. So they're doing it for good reason rather than just for any reason. So they want you to buy it through there. It'll help the project. So make sure you're purchasing when you buy Poodle, buy it through Everswap.
Yep, totally agree. I'm one of those people, as you all know. I don't promote something unless I'm also a user of it. So I got to give it to Tom. You called me out there early on when we first did this, and I didn't use it, and then so I went and made that purchase with it, and I went, what the heck? This is the easiest thing I've ever done. This is nice. This is cool. And it's just the safety there, and I always say, and people have heard me say this over and over, one of the biggest barriers to kind of DeFi is how many steps it takes. You know, especially if a new person, you're trying to promote a project. You go, oh, you got to do this. Oh, then you have to go bang. Then you got to go here. Then you're going to go here. Then you have to do this. Then you got to swap here. Then you got to go to this other website. Then you got to load the contract. And then you got to you got to load this and make sure you get the right contract because, you know, there's fake names out there. And just to be able to go to one spot, connect your wallet and go flip to flop and you're done and you purchase is exactly what we all need. So I'm a user of it. This is the only way I buy now. So I thank you for calling me out, and I think you guys have a great project. So thanks for coming on the show, gents, and looking forward to a continued long-term relationship together. Thank you so much for coming on. And with that, I will go ahead and end the show. And everyone, thank you so much for joining. Hopefully you enjoyed this incredible time. And we will see you next week. Live show. See, you didn't know this one wasn't live, except the fact I didn't tell you. So we will see you all next time.